unfortunately, our general counsel is out ill, so I don't know how this one's going to work, because what I would probably like to see at this point is this one is tied into superintendent doing a pilot of a climate survey in our district, and part of, if you looked at the superintendent's evaluation targets, which were set by this board, I guess, last year, one of them was around analyzing the legal implications of a climate survey. So we were going to try to have that analysis done and presented, but I don't know that Mr. Rowland has anything in writing.
No, he doesn't, but he and I talked today, and I think I can do the presentation and answer the questions, and if I don't answer them satisfactory, then we can bring it back, and hopefully I can, fairly briefly. So Ms. Locke and I started meeting with Research Development and Associates prior to Christmas. They're our organization that we bring in to do a lot of our evaluations of our after school program. They help put together our survey for our Title I program that we had to do and go out and collect. So they basically are professionals at doing surveys and collecting information. And so we also scheduled a meeting a few weeks ago with Mr. Rowland and representatives from Research Development Associates to talk about legal implications, and they put us in touch with some of their legal that works with them. And basically there's nothing, there aren't any legal ramifications around doing a survey. It really just comes down to the policy decision of the board and what the goal is of the survey. How do they want the data used? How do they want the data shared? And those types of policy dialogues and decisions. And so I just think as we go through the process of developing the surveys and collecting the data, really that's going to be the question is you know, overall, what is the goal of the data? And particularly since we're looking at trying to collect and do a 360-degree type of survey where we're collecting data from our older students, let's say maybe 5th grade or 6th grade and up, as well as our parents, as well as all of our staff members, and you know, really take a 360-degree look at, you know, what we're doing and how we're serving our clientele. It really sort of is going to come down to, you know, how do we want to see that data utilized, and I think as we move forward with the pilot, that will probably give us some more information about, you know, policy and how we want the data be used and shared and so forth. But there overall, there is nothing really legal parameter-wise that prevents us from doing it. It's just, it sort of comes down to the policy of how the data is stored and utilized and so forth.
Part of the concern around, because I didn't participate in running the school, so was part of the concern around evaluation not being perceived as using for staff evaluation?
Yes, I think that was the overall concern.
But we feel fine about that. In other words, when you were speaking with them, there wasn't an anxiety about that.
Well, I think there's an anxiety, but I think that is dealt with through more of a policy dialogue than a legal dialogue.
Now, do we know how this might tie in? I know Equity Advisory is looking at kind of a climate survey as well. Is there a link between these, or links with any other committees who may be interested in this, or is this going to be a standalone?
Well, obviously, you know, instead of doing, it's tough enough to get people to actually respond to surveys, and so I think we would want to incorporate, you know, not too many questions, but as many questions that would get us the answers to the different things that we need to collect data on and try and do it in one survey. One of the things that we really learned around the Title I survey that we did last year was to, you know, tie it to back to school night. You know, that way especially if you're doing it on the computer, it gives every parent an opportunity to go get it. And if a student can earn some sort of a, you know, prize by having their parent, it's amazing how they make sure that their parent gets to the computer and answers and so forth, because that's usually one of the biggest concerns around parental surveys is you know, getting enough parents to answer that you have the valid data set and so forth. So those are some of the things, but again, that sort of comes back to policy decisions as opposed to legal implications.
So we're confident we can proceed with this and get that pulled together and a pilot done. We'll ask Dr. Mills how she got all those darn surveys back from those parents.
and again, Jeannie Duarte Arms did a great job last year with the Title I survey. So again, and they worked with Research Development Associates, so we have some of the learnings that we had from collecting that data last year. So unless you feel there's more information you need from Mr. Rowland, I don't know if we need to bring this back.
Well, I myself thought it was kind of a nutty goal, but you know, this first part, I didn't really stress about doing surveys, but I know somebody must have, so I don't know if the other board members have any questions about this, or you feel fine that we just proceed with the pilot and developing. We are not doing it, the superintendent's using this. Any other comments or questions? That was just an information report.
And we'll implement it on some level this year?
That's the goal. We said to try and work it out in elementary, middle, and high school as a pilot.
Will you bring the questions back to us, or will you show us the survey before you go out with it?
Yes.
Okay, that's it on that item. Now it's superintendent's report and Pleasant Hill and